Good evening. I want us all now to transport ourselves back 2,000 years in time. It's the year 1 CE. The extraordinary Holy Temple, made of gleaming white stone, Herod's masterpiece, sits atop the pinnacle of Jerusalem. It has been decades in the making. It is resplendent, gleaming over the approaches to Jerusalem. It is a wonder of the Mediterranean world. 1,250 years prior, the Jews received the Torah at Sinai. 1,000 years prior, King David reigned over Judea. 930 years prior, King Solomon. 167 years before this point, the Maccabees rose up in revolt against the Seleucid Empire, and after 2 decades prevailed, restored Jewish honor, dignity, autonomy, and religious freedom. 4 years before this point, 4 years before 1 CE, King Herod died. And 4 years before this point, Jesus of Nazareth was born. Now looking forward, remember we're in 1 CE now, we're looking ahead now. In 6 CE, 5 years out, Rome, which is now the ruling entity in Judea, will directly appoint the Jewish high priest of the temple for the first time. His name was Yoazar ben Bothas. So remember, hitherto, the Jews naturally appointed their own high priest. And now Rome is encroaching directly into the Jewish religious freedom of Judea. 17 years out, Caiaphas will be appointed the Jewish high priest. This is the notorious Caiaphas we hear about in Christian lore. 25 years from now, Pontius Pilate, the Roman procurator, is installed in Judea. In 33 CE, 32 years from now, Jesus of Nazareth will be crucified by Pontius Pilate, prefect and procurator of Rome, who had sole power in Judea. Not 80% of the power, not 90% of the power, 100% of the power. The high priest at the time, Caiaphas, who Pilate was in touch with, as they say, had zero power. He was a lackey of Rome. He was hated by the Jews. The Sicarii, a Jewish sect, continuously tried to assassinate these lackey high priests, and once in a while succeeded. So the high priests of the temple, subsequent to 6 CE, were not on the side of the Jews. They were enemies of the Jews. In 62 CE, James the Just, who we don't know too much about from Yeshiva, was murdered. James the Just was the brother of Jesus of Nazareth. And James the Just was a Nazir, an Orthodox Jew, Nazir, which you're all familiar with. And modern scholarship believes that Jesus in his latter days was also a Nazir, Orthodox Jewish Nazir. To be clear, to the right of everyone in this audience, religiously to the right, not to the left, of everyone in this audience. At the same year that James the Just is murdered in Jerusalem, Paul, who was considered by many, but not by me, to be the founder of Christianity, is executed by Rome in Rome. Okay, so now we're at 62 CE. We're in 62 CE in the 1st century. And now we're going to take a pause for a second. All of you are wondering, what is the speaker saying? The speaker is saying Jesus was a Nazir. That doesn't conform to what we heard about all these decades. There are basically 2 paradigms currently about Jesus and Christianity. One is the classic Vatican paradigm, which runs roughly as follows, roughly. Jesus and his disciples were propounding a new religion. Jesus and his disciples were universalistic. They may have been born Jewish, but basically they were universalistic entities propounding a new religion wherein Jesus was playing the part of messianic herald of a new world. This is the normative Christian approach, the normative Christian projection. There is another alternate paradigm which is coming increasingly to the fore, step by step, as we speak week by week. It was propounded first, to my knowledge, by an Orthodox Jewish scholar named Chaim Maccoby, a British scholar, and his work, Jesus and Rome, came out in 1974. It may have been effectively, de facto, self-published. There were not too many volumes, but has barely survived the test of time. In the Maccoby paradigm, in the Maccoby outline of Jesus and his disciples, the situation is quite different. Jesus and his disciples were all Orthodox Jewish or observant Jewish. Jesus and his disciples believed that Jesus was the Mashiach, the Jewish Mashiach. When Jesus died, he was mourned by the Jewish community, which has been historically corroborated. His fellowship was taken over by his brother, James the Just, the Nazir. But this whole sect eventually disappeared approximately 100 CE and disappeared into oblivion. And according to the Maccoby paradigm, Paul and allies crafted Christianity in contradiction to the historical facts. Now, Maccoby was 1974, now we're in 2011. So there's at least 30 plus years of additional scholarship to layer on to Maccoby, if you accept Maccoby. I accept Maccoby. And global scholarship monthly advances in this direction. Now, so now we're going to look at the world in 62 CE, the way I present it in the book, which is an offshoot of Maccoby. Maccoby postulated that Paul and his allies in Rome crafted the new Christianity. My perspective, while I accept 90% of what Maccoby has postulated, which is extensive, is that the origins of Christianity were not from Paul in Rome. That was just embryonic Christianity. What happened was that another group, the Greek Paulines, based out of Asia Minor in Antioch, Turkey, basically hijacked Christianity from Paul and hijacked key iconography from Judaism from the Jews. So, and from my perspective, these Greek Paulines were not new to this whole situation. They were veteran missionary players, veteran church players, perhaps for generations. They understood how to craft a church, so to speak. Not the Christian church. They understood how to craft a church. They understood the human psyche. In fact, they diabolically understood the human psyche to the extent it is beyond scary.